Let's discuss. Hey everyone, it's Rachel back again with another video, and today I am stoked to be checking out the new album from VEXED, Negative Energy. I have covered both of the singles that are out at the time I'm recording this. I know that there will be another one coming. I will watch the music video, of course, but I was lucky enough to get this in time to sort of video out, so big thanks to the band for allowing me to do that. That is the reason whatever the last single is in the last music video, it won't be included in this, and I have the two singles that I'm talking about, Anti-Fetish and also Cross My Heart, Hope to Die, on the channel. My favorite of the two is Anti-Fetish. That song has just stuck with me so much, but Cross My Heart did a great job of continuing the momentum, continuing the excitement around this record for me. They are just stellar releases. So I will link all of VEX's social media, their promotional links, merch for the record, all of that good stuff in the description of this video. I will leave the two tracks I'm talking about sort of cut in the middle as I normally do with my album reactions because they're on the channel, but otherwise we'll be running through everything for the first time. So let me know what you think of the album in the comments. Go ahead and give VEXED some love on their socials, and all that being said, I'm going to stop talking. We are going to get straight into it.
When you experience a disturbing event, it triggers your amygdala. When the amygdala is overactive, someone who suffers from PTSD, for example, they might have an overactive. Symptoms can include flashbacks, night terrors, intrusion, and sometimes even chronic physical pain.
Oh, closer together now.
To hold on to negative experiences more than positive ones.
Recovery is a long and difficult process.
Reverb in that snare hit. Ooh! Ooh, and this goes into my favorite track too. Definitely did the job of getting me hyped. More hyped than I already was.
Anti-Fetish.
Such a good intro. This has to be one of my favorite songs to come out of this group so far. Unbelievable. I just know it. What a song. It does not get old too. I've listened to that very many times. Oh my god. What is this?
We don't talk about it, suppress it, forget it, if I think about regret it. But I need an outlet, I'll just be poetic, won't say too much on progress. No monsters hiding underneath my bed, but instead I kept a knife, barricading doors and windows, cause they're coming for your life. Fearing for the worst, hearing any noise in the dead of night. Better lock my bedroom door so the big bad Pokemon don't bite. So voice of the dark, just to feel some love. Made up by the people that we were supposed to trust. Head out into the world with a mouth kept shut. Promise I won't say what happened or they'll kill all of us. I apologize, I think I've said too much. I'm so sorry could not keep my mouth shut. Please, just try and see it from my point of view. This is all I have to vet out the abuse, cause we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it, suppress it, forget it, if I think about regret it. But I need an outlet, I'll just be poetic, won't say too much, I promise. I'll try to convince you everything is fine, but behind closed doors we just witnessed and got between another physical assault. Grabbed by the throat, lifted up and held against the wall. Spat on a
I feel myself emotionally attaching to the song.
for miles and miles at the pouring rain, just to make sure that the past and records are outside. Broken bones, heart attacks, the roots and cuffs. If the authorities are the proof they need, but there's never consequence. I apologize, I think I've said too much. I'm so sorry,
Is that the chorus?
shut. Please, just try and see it from my point of view. This is all I have to vet out the abuse, cause we don't talk about it. I'm so sorry for talking about looting memories of childhood. I need a space to get it off my chest. Was the way to suffocating as I can't keep fighting for breath. I apologize, I think I've said too much. I'm so sorry, I could not keep my mouth shut. Please, just try and see it from my point of view.
Wow, I don't have anything to say.
Is all I have to vet out the abuse, cause we don't talk about it.
Which is rare for me. Oh, I need a minute after that one. Okay, we got this. Keep on keeping on. We'll talk at the end.
Cross my heart and how to die, not knowing what's on the other side. Cross your heart, prepare to live, in case your sins they won't forgive. Cross my heart and how to die, without the meaning to my life. Cross your heart, prepare to live. You're not sacred, you're corrupted. It's too late, I can't be saved. My soul is damned for the devil to take. If you ask me what
he's
you
like
believe in, all honesty, it's a cast of roses. Age comes perspective and a hunger for knowledge.
kids get me every time. We have a ton of new stuff now. Starting out my song
losing control of my mind in an instant. If you tried this, if you tried that, if I thought about trying to give that, if I thought about shutting up, just book it out, but also everyone gets that one to the wall. Thanks for the advice. I'm going cold, I'm going numb, got pins and needles on my tongue. Everything is going black.
Oh, whoa!
I'll never meet the same again. Very for my life, I can't pretend. Every day I torture. Never coming.
Woo!
Of this prison I created for myself. Can you hear
Ooh!
of my heart palpitating for my trust?
Woo! Got some giddy up to it.
Everybody dies, everybody leaves, no one gets a fucking minute to grave. Life has to carry on. I wish I could stand throughout, but no one cares, I would never tell the terrifying truth. I'm all alone, I'm traumatized, not a second my day passes by without me breaking through. I understand, you don't wanna hear, but a monster's life is over him, but I am broken.
Uh-oh.
Never coming. Of this prison I created for myself. Can you hear that sound of my heart palpitating for my truth? Consumed with the thought of you and all the things I should have said or done. Death is just a you. The face of fear we try to overcome.
Back from that intro. That's the outro?
Panic attack. Spiraling past the point of ever coming back. Flashback. Losing control of my mind
The
in an
outro.
instant. Just
Song structure on this is super cool. Okay, I think we got the feature I'm waiting for here.
I'm fucking over it. I want an apology, not a guilt trip. Sick of it. They know your fucking fears. I hear your cries, but I say no tears. I'm fucking over it. I want an apology, not a guilt trip. Sick of it. They know your fucking fears. I hear your cries, but I say no tears. Lay down your crap, I'm fucking over it. I want an apology, not a guilt trip. Sick of it, feeding your fucking fears. I hear your cries, but I say no tears.
You know they're gonna bring him back.
I'm fucking over it. I want an apology, not a guilt trip. Sick of it, feeding your fucking fears. I hear your cries, but I say no tears.
Chew me up and spit me out. I'll give you something to cry about.
Ooh.
This is your world, we're just living in. You created this new white mindset. Was it nature, nurture or neglect? Don't ask questions, just accept that. Ceremonious words of self-praise are these all you good. Why are that now? Who's going to believe you now?
Oh my god.
Nobody.
Are you kidding me?
My faith in humanity is short. I can't believe.
Ooh, that riff.
I held on to a childish dream. The reality is no one really cares how much you've lost. Self-entitlement, money and greed always come first. It's gonna take some time to accept. The love for you is what you won't exist.
That is tasty.
Such mental stress, nothing to process. This is the painful truth. No one in this world is looking out for you. No one is safe from being betrayed. I had to learn the hard way, 'cause I chose to believe in a beautiful lie. Ignore what's happening in front of my eyes. Now don't you dare pretend to care. Manipulate the narrative. This is what you've always wanted.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Wizard of Oz shit.
What paths are going down? I don't have any directions. Either way end up at the dead end of the lower my expectations of what the future really holds.
These riffs are all qualifying for the playlist. The boot of the year playlist.
It's gonna take some time to accept. The love for you is what you won't exist. I never thought that I'd be going through such mental stress, nothing to process. This is the painful truth. No one in this world is looking out for you. No one is safe from being betrayed.
Oh, that's dirty. Sweat on this one. In your pocket, all over this. We'll talk about it. We'll talk. Yeah. Don't do this. I thought build up was gonna carry on. Got a lot of that, like, slow. Good lord. Default. We're moving on. We're gonna keep it moving. We'll talk at the end. Some singing. Rip me up. Vocals and different are phenomenal. That's hard as shit. So much groove in these riffs, dude. Really enjoy what they've done in terms of lyrical topics too and stuff. I can't wait to dive into this. Oh, that's neat. This verse is huge. This is that verse. I love that one. movie. Gorgeous looks. A lot of this was a bit different vocally. Oh, that was a rough one for me. I definitely need to take a pause before we continue. All right, we carry on. Oh, okay.
It's the start of the road. I had no idea what to expect at all. It was almost entirely separate.
is not helping me unwanna cry. But it does give us that bridge moment to recover from it's not the end and move on. Which is probably very kind of them to do after how that wrecked me. Alright, just like that. We're at the end. That is helping me not want to cry.
Sacrifice every aspect of your life. Break your body, soul and mind. Sabotage all of your time. Become the pain with broad lines. Nepotism, nepotism. Another way to handle.
They have coming in with the song titles in the song.
You don't deserve the things that you're given. Nepotism, nepotism. Another way to hack the system. Favoritism, favoritism.
Not gonna leave this out without some more ideas.
None of it will ever be enough if you don't have power or influence. Get your place to by us until you know that really matters. What do I need to do in order for you to take some notice? Should I just throw it all away except for fate and find a new purpose? 'Cause no matter how hard you try, you can't deny that you've been caught out. Offering up your neck to keep the leeches sick for your fight. Nepotism, nepotism. Another way to hack the system. Favoritism, favoritism. You don't deserve the things that you're given. Nepotism, nepotism. Another way to hack the system. Favoritism, favoritism. You don't deserve the things that you're given. You don't deserve the things that you have.
Oh, sounded pissed.
Get your eyes dirty. Nature's always what the most. Not taking too much will drain the most.
Got the slow fade? The real slow fade? I like the heartbreaker track not being the thing that it leaves you on. Vexed, negative energy, let's discuss. With the singles being considered, I had very high expectations for this album, and I am not disappointed at all. This is going to be something that gets a ton of attention from me. I think even though I've loved it, obviously, on my first listen, as I listen more, it's just going to continue growing on me. Maybe my favorites will even change around a little bit, but having so many different songs that strike me as standout on the first listen, that's always a very good sign for me. Obviously, It's Not the End is one that's really hit for me, but you have tracks like We Don't Talk About It, Trauma, Euphoria, Default, all of those, Lay Down Your Flowers. Having all of those stick out on first listen, I think comparing them is rather difficult because I loved them all so much. I think the Lochie feature was great, but even Alpha Wolf being one of my favorite bands, that being a vocalist for me that really sticks out right now, my favorite moments were definitely in other tracks, in other places on the album, though that's going to be one that gets a lot of attention from me as well as the album will. I think when it comes to tracks I'll listen to the most, It's Not the End is one. There is a very, very fine line, I think, when it comes to a song like that with that subject matter. Constance is a track that was in the same subject matter, but I cannot listen to that track. It reminds me of the same situation with the album is actually coming out on an anniversary for when my grandma passed away, which is for me one of the hardest days of the year. It's a subject that comes to mind obviously when I'm listening to songs like this. So with the subject matter being something that affects me that much, I think there is a really big risk of it runs for me of me not being able to listen because it's too painful. There are some songs I've experienced that have left me with that feeling, but this is one I think I'm just gonna put on whether I'm in somewhere like I will be Friday where I'm having a really hard time, or like I have been leading up to that, or if it's just another day. It's something that will work either way for me, and I think acknowledges it in just a way that clicks for me and doesn't make me want to avoid it or anything. There are some songs that I also, the closing, The Burden, if you haven't listened to their record they put out this year, Terminal, phenomenal. The closing track on that record has the Constance effect for me. It's I cannot do it unless I'm going for the emotional jugular, trying to feel something really sad. But for this, it sticks out to me. It makes me relate to it in the lyric topic way, but at the same time, there are just so many things to love about it. The way it feels so full as it comes together. It's not the end. We'll meet again. It just really hits in a place for me that will likely make it my favorite track on the album. I think the single placement in being early on in the album and this having a decent runtime, decent amount of tracks. Of course, there are two that serve a more interlude type purpose. That's including PTSD, which is less interlude and more of an opener, setting the stage, and it has some thickness to it. It's not got the same energy as DMT to me, but I think you can categorize them similarly for convenience sake. But DMT is a track that sort of provides you the bridge getting to Nepotism. Nepotism brings the energy back up. They don't leave you on the note of It's Not the End, which is good because for me I was sobbing. It's also not the end of the album. It takes you to Nepotism, but you do have that kind of processing time. DMT, I think, expands on the feelings that you're left with after It's Not the End, which is great with its placement being after, but you get led into Nepotism. You kind of move on from that and you're left with something more energetic. There's some flow there that's in the chorus. It's got that anger to it that I think when it comes to that sound, there's a lot of it throughout this album, and a lot of really fast-paced stuff from Meg as well. We don't see quite as much of her singing as we did on Culling Culture, and I like the experiment feel here. There's a lot of teamwork from her and Jay. There's a lot, tracks like Extremist, that is so in the pocket, and there are just certain parts of this record where the teamwork in the riffs and the vocal delivery is just so impressive. I think Extremist is the track where that stuck out to me the most. You can hear it all over that, but there are just little pockets of that throughout this entire release. Trauma Euphoria is one of those. So I'm kind of breezing over all my thoughts after being knocked on my ass a little bit by this record, but what I had just mentioned with there being less singing, I think it feels more reserved. It makes tracks like Trauma Euphoria with that chorus on it feel a lot more impactful for me on a listen like this, because there are just a lot of different ways that you're hearing the negative energy expressed. Like, the title of the album makes a lot of sense. I had a conversation with Meg recently. It was right around the time that Cross My Heart came out. I think I posted the interview that same week. But we had a conversation about what's different between, with VEXED, between Calling Culture, which was released in a really weird time. And it's always been really weird times, I think, in life. But the pandemic and living in a pandemic world afterwards was a real turning point, and I think for a lot of bands who released music during that, it was an interesting reception for them. So we talked about that, but something she said was that where in a lot of places, Calling Culture, they felt like they needed to put a positive spin on certain things. They just allowed themselves to feel those negative emotions on this record, is what she said, and I think that comes across really well. There are multiple ways that it's expressed. It doesn't feel like structure-wise this follows the same format throughout. There are samples, there are effects used throughout this that kind of give it that more experimental. Certain parts of it feel a bit industrial, but overall it's not all over the place. Those are incorporated in a way where the record feels cohesive. The sound feels like VEXED coming into their own. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I used a lot of words to get that point across, but I'm just really stoked on this. I think Default is another track for me, though I listed all my favorites. Those are top competing for favorite songs, but I don't want to discredit the tracks that weren't quite up there. Panic Attack is another one I really loved. There was a line in there that was something like, and it was during some of that fast pace. It's almost touching on like borderline rapping at some points, and I really love to see that, because I know when talking about visual influences for their videos and stuff, the range of influence they're taking there is different, and I think that in Negative Energy you can hear it sonically rather than seeing it visually so much. It's coming to meet where those influences are coming. I don't think it sounds like, oh, this sounds like such and such influence, but having, those various places that aren't related usually to the type of music that you're making and stuff, it can really have an effect on how the outcome of your music sounds, and I think it's really cool. It's something that I always appreciate when I know certain members of a band or a member of a band has these interests that lie outside, and you can hear them come through in their music. I think on this record that is more the case than Calling Culture. And I don't want to make it sound like I don't enjoy that record either. What I forgot about when I was doing the interview, when I made my Anti-Fetish video, when I made the Cross My Heart Hope to Die video, was the only written review I've done was for that record. That was why I did not have it on the channel. I wrote a review for it, and the way I did it was I waited till the last minute, and then I was listening to it a bunch over and over again to get my review done. And I think that's why when it dropped I didn't really revisit it so much. I burnt myself out just listening over and over, it felt like getting an assignment done, because I waited till that last minute, and that sort of took some away from me. Whereas when I'm doing a video or something, I don't listen to it over and over, and I don't quite focus so hard on what I'm saying. I just kind of turn on the camera for this outro and talk far too much, probably, but it's just a very different experience. And I think had I experienced the Calling Culture rollout differently, I would have listened to it more. But still, as I talked about in my interview with Meg, as I've talked about really online and stuff, since revisiting Calling Culture this year for me has just felt much different. My tastes have of course changed a lot since 2020. I've mentioned multiple times, like the beginning of 2021, I think it was. No, 2022, really diving into Distinguisher and Fit for an Autopsy and bands like that kind of shaped my taste and morphed it a little bit. Whereas I still love all the same bands. My favorite band has not changed. It still changes what you're overall listening to. My top most played artists varied a bit, and I think with that happening, a lot of other stuff then became in like within my realm of listening, and I started branching out more. I don't want to talk too much about that because it's not super related, but I think that has a lot to do with reception for me, revisiting a record and having it hit in a way that feels completely different. Though I really enjoyed it when it dropped and it was new, and writing that review, I gave it a great review because I loved it. I think Negative Energy for me feels much different. There are so many tracks that I'm just like, oh, this is gonna get a bunch of plays for me. Panic Attack is a very cool track. I know I started talking about it a minute ago, got all sidetracked, but there's a line on it that's something like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you thought about something? Have you thought about shutting up? And that's sort of like mimicking that, when it comes to the mental health, that's a very big conversation. There are a lot of topics on this record they've touched on lyrically that are big conversation topics, which I always enjoy. I think driving a message you're passionate about often comes across like something like this that feels very passionate when you're listening. But anyway, with Panic Attack, the delivery there is fast, like what I'm talking about. Although you see it, like I mentioned, in multiple places, I think that was really a standout part for me, because also having that sort of like, have you thought about shutting up, and kind of, it felt like a clap back, like a little bit of attitude there, and it's just delivered in a way where it really landed with me, left a great impression on me. I think that will be something I do a lot of revisiting too as well. So obviously mentioning my favorite tracks and leaving that one out, but still having great things to say about it, I think overall that kind of captures my experience with this the best, because there wasn't anything on here that I did not enjoy. I think overall, Extremist might possibly be like the one I play the least, but it's not a track I disliked or one that I'll skip, so it's a no skip for me. I think DMT and PTSD, those I'll keep when I'm doing a front to back album listen, but it won't get, I won't be putting them on the playlist all the time, especially with what I've said about DMT and it feeling like almost an extension of It's Not the End and like a processing piece for that. If I'm not listening in order to it, I think it won't serve as great of a purpose for me, although in the full album listen it does. So hopefully that also makes sense. I'm kind of just blabbing on here. These are my first thoughts after hearing it. A lot of contenders for favorite tracks. Single placement is great because you feel familiar with the record as you're getting into it, knowing those two tracks are within the first four, but you still have We Don't Talk About It in between. You have PTSD to lead you into Anti-Fetish, which is definitely a track that I'll keep on listening to on the playlist. Those hold up very well with as strong as the non-singles are. The singles hold up incredibly well. I think the choices there, the placement are fantastic. So I think this is about as ideal as it possibly could be for me. I'm gonna rank this very, very high this year. I can already feel it. Of course, everything is, ebbs and flows and is likely to change. I say that now, and I've gone back on stuff. This is not something that I see myself going back on. I think it'll end up ranking very highly for me. Right now, obviously, I've said obviously a lot today. I'm sorry, and I've noticed, but I can't stop. As most people know, Heavener is my album of the year. It's a very, very defensive record in that spot. I don't see anything else coming out this year that'll take that away, but what's filling in after it on my list is really strong. So you have records like Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden, From Joy's self-titled record. This competes with those on first listen. I can definitely say that confidently, so I will see how all of that plays out. Gonna be doing a bunch of listening to all of it, as I always am. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I don't have anything I would want different with this record. As you've heard me talk about I've been talking for like 15 minutes. As you've heard me talk about for quite some time, I have nothing but good things to say. There's nothing it left me feeling I needed from it or that it didn't deliver on. So hopefully that all makes sense. The riff work on this, outstanding. A lot of really catchy, groovy drum grooves, but a lot of really strong drum grooves. Vocally, everything I've said in relation to Anti-Fetish and Cross My Heart, Hope to Die, it comes across just as well and even better on the record. I was not sure going into it if we'd see any singing, if that was something they were putting behind them. Even if it were, I think that they would have the potential to just continue on like blazing down the path they've been going on. I don't think it would hold them back any. But the use of the more melodic moments, the singing from Meg on this record are so impactful, like I mentioned, that I just love that they're sort of reserved for those moments more so. And then it feels like it gives them a little space to explore some other stuff that they've done on this. Let me know whether you agree, disagree in the comments, what your favorite tracks are. I will link all of their social media, merch, and physical copies of the record, all of that good stuff in the description. They have a Patreon with a Discord server, so they've got a community going that's really awesome as well. So if you want to check that stuff out, make sure to do so. It will be in the description. Thank you very much to the band for getting this over to me in time to sort out my video, and I love this. This will be getting a ton of plays from me. You can also find my link tree in the description. That will have any link you may need related to my channel. It will have the Patreon, my Twitch channel, the Discord server invite link. I post all my videos first, usually in Discord, before I post them on social media and stuff, but mainly the best thing about it is it's where the community is based for my YouTube channel. We've got a lot of really wonderful people in there, music lovers, having conversation related to music and also completely unrelated to music as well. So if you're interested in joining, checking out the community, that will be there, as well as things I mentioned, my Patreon, my Twitch. I'm going to just keep talking through her barking because she just keeps on barking. Maybe I won't. Okay. Patreon link, I'm going to be doing 2 streams at the end of June for kind of like a midway through the year check-in, and my monthly recap that I always do, any requests for Patreon people. I offer various things in there. I'll be doing an update offering more in mid-July as well, but for now everything listed is what's offered. If you're interested in checking it out, it will be there. Twitch, I'm going to be starting my weekly schedule around the same time I do the update. Everything back here behind me will be changing as well. It'll be very noticeable when that happens, but at that time I'll be hopefully doing 2 or 3 Twitch streams per week, in addition to the once a week I'm streaming on YouTube for request streams. So there'll be a lot going on. If you're interested in seeing when I go live and all that gets started, I will be using it a few times leading up to that as well. It won't just be in July. You can follow the Twitch in the link tree in the description. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.